Hello!
Hello, long time no see.
No time no see. Welcome everybody. This is our first Nordic office hours and super excited to be here. But don't go away if you're not from the Nordics. Everybody is invited, so it's just called Nordic office hours. Today we are going to focus our office hours in databases. But if you have other topics and we know the answers, we will be more than happy to answer the questions. First, I want to invite our guest today. That is Domagoy. Welcome to the show. It's this side. Welcome.
Oh, hello. Or this side. Wait, this side. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
How are you doing?
Doing beautiful. I still didn't have lunch, so if you hear some
Oh,
weird noises coming from me, like that's not me. But
awesome.
overall, very good. Weather is good. It's quite nice. Nice start of the week. And you?
Yes, I'm very happy. It's a great day. My kid was sick, so I spent the whole morning jumping
Wait,
behind a toddler that says, "Mommy, me duele la
that's a great
cabeza."
day. That's a
Yes,
great day. You're like very interesting person.
I know. But yeah, so everybody, welcome. We have quite many people watching already. So please let me know where you are from, where you're watching from. And if you have any database questions, this is the place to ask the questions. But while there are no questions in the chat, I would like to ask Domagoy what is the database that it's the one that we should be learning right now.
And you don't want to tell me your favorite Dynamo, correct?
Everybody
Um,
knows that I love Dynamo.
so true. So basically, here in AWS, well, let me tell you, it depends. Yeah.
I
So
know.
so basically, it really depends where you're coming from, what you're trying to do. In AWS, we have this saying that we have purpose-built databases. What do we mean by that? Through usage and working with our customers, they really helped us realize that building database for specific purpose is really something to go. So I see a lot of customers going and enjoying Aurora. QLDB is something that is quite new.
What is
The
QLDB?
what is
Because
that? Oh my God!
sounds like a
It's
weird
a
name.
quantum
Quantum.
bitlocker. There's
What?
like what? There is crazy going head going out. Well, basically, if you need a database, like for example, 10 years ago, if you needed to make sure that nobody deletes something for the database, or if somebody touches something in database, that you need to know it, usually because of some regulations, some government is insisting on doing that if you're building solution for something like that. If you want to ensure that nobody can delete the data, either some like hackers or like somebody just spilling over the keyboard something and deletes everything from the database, that's where QLDB comes in. So it's
Okay.
verifiable. Everything you write in, it's always append. So anything that you write in, you can stand up in front of the court if somebody pulls you in. Why did you code this solution? And are you sure that Domago is owner of this house and Marcia is not the owner of this house? How can you prove it? QLDB is great solution for it.
Ah,
It's
so it's
fully
an immutable
serverless.
ledger.
Yes. So it has a like journal below it. Every transaction, everything that you change, you insert, you delete, you update, is get written. It get a hash inside of it, and then gets repopulated in tables that you can query, you can touch upon, and it's what its greatest thing. It's fully serverless, so it has
Okay.
no like servers that you need to decide how big, blah blah. Don't need to manage it at all. So something quite nice, quite nice. Yeah.
So you can connect through the AWS SDK, for example, from your applications, like you will use Dynamo, for example.
Exactly. And funny that you mentioned that. So QLDB or Quantum Ledger Database for long,
Friends.
but for friends, it's QLDB. When you go to the bar, QLDB and Dynamo goes to the bar, that old story. So QLDB has something called streams. So
That's
now
my
you might
favorite feature from Dynamo.
now you have it in basically in QLDB. So the same things.
Yeah.
So continuous flow of data going on from the journal, so you can hook it up to Kinesis or something on the other end and do
Yeah.
different stuff on top of it.
Somebody is mentioning the relationship of QLDB with blockchain. What is that relationship? It's complicated?
Oh, it's complicated. Like every relationship is complicated, right? But actually, I would simplify it totally. If you need a database, like if you need a single thing that has all the data in, and you need to query, and it needs to be a single point of truth, QLDB is your solution. We have also managed blockchain. Uh, and for managed blockchain, you have like quorums, you can share data, everybody has a copy of the data, private, public, all of that things. It's like many QLDBs all around. You can think about it like that. So QLDB is a database where managed blockchain is like blockchain shared all around.
Yeah, the database, at least because it's immutable, is using cryptography to validate all the kind of data that is there. So that's part of the relationship that it has with blockchain, but it doesn't have, you can use the database and not have anything to do with blockchain. So
exactly. So it's all below. If you want to use smart contracts and all around blockchain, you go blockchain. You like Hyperledger Fabric, you like Ethereum. Go manage blockchain. We have a great service just for that. We have a great case from Nestle. Did you see that?
No, can you share?
Talk something while I find it.
I can talk something. Somebody, Tomer, is saying that he just passed his practitioner certificate today, so that's great. Yeah, so congrats. Now it's time to move to the solution architect. That's a great idea. I'm still trying to get certified. I've been super lazy, so don't remind me. I have this in my goals to get like a developer and architect certified since forever, and I have not got my things around it. So
while I'm searching, I'm still like totally, oh my God, you didn't get it yet. This is like
no, I have not even think about like when I can sit through this thing. You know how it's procrastination? I'm very good at that. It's just but it's just like, oh yeah, this should be doable. I should study, and then life gets in the way. So everybody that is studying for certification, I can feel your pain, and great job that you got your certification done. But it's hard. It is.
And while we are on the topic, let me interject there. We have quite recently published database specializes specialty. So when you're
have
doing
you done it?
I was in beta. So yes, woohoo! So actually, yeah, and it was quite hard, I must say.
And in the beta, you cannot see this, because solution architect, there is a lot of dumps of questions or like examples and exams. But if you're in the beta, you're one of the first ones. There is not much that you can see in advance. So that's brave.
Yeah. But it's really fun, and it really helps you. Both from how to use it as developer, but also from the perspective of how to plan around databases going forward. What do you need? What your application needs? Do you need to be highly available? Will you have users in US here, there? So it really helps you think about these things.
Yeah, whenever I talk about databases, I always try to tell people, at least when you're using microservices and distributed systems, that you can use more than one. You don't need to marry to only one, because that's kind of somebody is like, yeah, but I need one database. No, that's like 30 years ago. Now you can choose one for each. So that makes that you need to know a lot of databases, and it becomes very hard to like feel comfortable with them. But I think that certification might help if you want to go that road of having a multi-database architecture, and you want to be the top master of everything. That's the
fully agree. We have, but that's what I mentioned maybe before with
you mentioned the purpose-built database, and I think that's one of the most important things, because it's having one SQL database that does everything. It's
but that's so like your grandpa style. Sorry for saying that. But if you go in and I talk with customers who they're startup, but they are running on top of Oracle. Okay, interesting choice. Why? Oh, we just had this database like under our desks, and the guy who was working it knew how to use it, so they just put everything in it. But then you are losing all these fun things, like I mentioned with QLDB, where you have like immediately when you write anything in database, it gets hashed, it gets appended to the ledger, like in a journal. You cannot delete it. It's like written proof of something that happened in database. um, so it's very hard to do with the one database, and
Yeah, it is. It
yeah.
is, and I think that's something it's very important to understand. One of my favorite demos is the one that there is this bookstore app that they use Neptune, Dynamo, Elasticsearch, Redis, and then you can see how all of these bits interact together, and it's like so easy to integrate that with Lambda because everybody connects with an URL or an endpoint or an AWS SDK. So you really just you don't need to open a connection to your database and handle that connection. It's just so easy to use all those databases. So
fully for me, if you look recently, we are now in a preview of TimeStream. And a lot of developers talk to me about TimeStream. When they use it, they try to get in a private preview, things around it. So TimeStream, for those of you that don't know, is again like fully managed, purpose-built time series database. Okay, what is time series? When do I use it? When you use like IoT, when you are having like building solution for like factories or things. I have one customer who's building like boilers to heat up your house, and they're like every second, I think they're sending several thousand different sensor data. How much water you have in your boiler, how hot it is, all of that. So if you have a database that knows about time as perspective, so it has automatic like roll-ups, retention, tiering. So do you need to know the data in my boiler? The temperature was exactly every second, like it was now 19, then it's 20, then it's 21 after 10 years? Or do you want database itself to roll it up and just say, look, average time for the year 2016 for Domagoy was, I don't know, 21 degrees, which is usually good. So all of these things and rolling up, going to cheaper storage is something that's very interesting if you have, if you're building a solution that needs time, that knows about time, going over month
but
over month, year
TimeStream
over year.
still in preview, if I'm not.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is still in preview. You can ask, but as soon as it's ready, we have a lot of people asking for it to go to try it out and
Yeah,
go
for the
live.
IoT world, it's extremely useful, as you say. We
Yes.
have one question about certifications. So somebody is asking, Pratik, I'm super bad at saying names. I'm destroying everybody's name. Can you provide information of which certification should I learn from beginner to advanced? I would recommend it to start with the cloud practitioner. It's a very simple certification if you have cloud knowledge, but it will give you all the broad knowledge of the AWS because it walks you through everything in a very like titles, just like what the service does, just title. But it's a great way for me to like walk you around the whole park that is pretty big. And then from there, you can start walking. If you want to be an architect, just go through the associate and then the professional, and you will be more than done because the architect certification is really broad. So you will need to learn so much. Have you done the professional and the associate? Oh my God. Yeah. You're mute. I am mute too. Can I? No, you're mute.
Sorry, I don't know. My mom decided to have its life of its own. No. I have a pro. I have the associate, both for DevOps and for SA.
Wow. So you will say that going through first the practitioner, then the associate, and then the professional is the.
It's really. For practitioner, it's a great way to start. It is free to prepare. If you go on our web, everything you need for preparing for practitioner is free of charge. So you can get started quite fast. And if you're coming, from different systems, you never were working on AWS, this is a great way to start to give you some basic concepts on how to get along.
Yeah. Then we have another question about WebSockets. Let's see if I can understand the question. This is the tough thing of Ask Me Anything Live. So the question is with the real-time API. I imagine that you're using API Gateway, as you say, yes, WebSockets. You have a mobile app. And then if you have a WebSocket, the socket will time out after 10 minutes. Okay, the connection will be terminated. How you can send updates back to the app. So if you use API Gateway, you need to maintain like the connection list in a Dynamo table, for example. I will share a link to a video where I'm doing this. So when the connection is terminated and the client initiates again, then there you will have a Dynamo table or any database that you like. But I like Dynamo because it's extremely fast to pick up the connection ID and open the port again and start the connection again. So the next part, it says that if you want to use, what it's here, about push notifications. So for that, you can use the service, simple notification service. That's another story, and that's another service that is different from API Gateway, but everything is you can integrate pretty straightforward from Lambda. So I will put, as soon as Tomagoy starts speaking, I will look for that video, and then I can share it with you so you can see how you maintain and open connections and close connections with WebSocket and API. So we have a database question. This one is for you. I don't have a clue what they are talking about.
Oh my God. So basically, if you're running Oracle or SQL Server, we have a lot of customers that are looking to get away from those databases like old school. You started with them. They're maybe great technologies for the time and place, but you're looking for something else right now. So we have several things to help you around. One of the things is what we call database freedom. So we have programs who can help you around from financial standpoint to get over to the AWS. Please contact somebody in AWS or just reach out to me, and then we can get around. You also see now in the chat the link to it. So this is something that is great for us to help you around getting from, let's pick Oracle or SQL Server and go to AWS. We have some free tools that you can use that we see a lot of customers using. First tool is called Schema Conversion Tool, or as we, among friends, when you go to bar, you talk about SCT, or again, Schema Conversion Tool. This is a tool that allows you, that you can download from our web. Just download it, run it. You can run it on Mac, on Linux, on Windows, and just point it to a database and run it to run for analysis. Tool will tell you a lot of things. Tool will tell you, okay, how hard it is to get from Oracle to, let's pick Aurora Postgres, for example. How much you need to change schema. It will not look at the data. It will just look at the way you use your database. So tables, views, store procedures are all around it. And then it will tell you, okay, how to get around to Aurora. We also do have like migration best practices, and we'll also share a link around. Those are like 400 pages, so light reading on sharing best practices. If you know SQL Server and want to go, for example, to Aurora MySQL, how to do it, some gotchas, how to use which tools. It's also in this links, and I'll share this link. Let me just find it for now. Did I answer your question, or if you have any follow-up, just reach out again in the chat.
The link is this database freedom, or you have another one?
I have another one. So database freedom is overall, but here I'm also sharing one, this one, if you can.
Yes, I'm pasting it in the.
Yeah. So basically, when you go on this This is our database migration service resources. So these are what we call migration playbooks and step-by-step guides. So you will find on this page how to migrate from SQL Server to Aurora MySQL. It's the first one. Second one is SQL Server to PG, Postgres, then from Oracle to Postgres, etc., etc. So in each of the document is like very light, as I mentioned before, 400 pages or so, where we go how to get around for moving from Oracle to SQL Server or whatever is the case, what tools to use, what processes. So I think it's a great resource.
Yeah, that's great. So if there are more database questions, this is the time to ask because I don't know that much. So take advantage that Domago is here today to answer all your questions. But while we wait for some more database questions, let's answer some serverless questions. Somebody's asking, what are the best up-to-date books using serverless tools on AWS? Books is a kind of hard thing with serverless because it's such a new thing that I don't know if there is any book that is up to date. But the best book that is serverless, but it's not serverless per se, but it's Dynamo, is the Alex DeBrie book that is amazing. Yeah. So I will leave the link in the comments in a second, but it's a great book. So related to databases, I'm taking it back. That will teach you how to do everything for your backend if you need to use Dynamo as a database. For Lambda itself, it changed so much that I don't think nobody's really writing books because they just go old in a month. So I would recommend you to follow some of our serverless heroes like Jeremy Daly, Jan Q. I will leave all the links in the description box. That are two of the many people that are really writing regularly blog posts and articles about serverless. For example, Jeremy Daly has this amazing newsletter that he puts out every Monday where he basically reads the internet for us and tell us what are the most interesting and relevant serverless articles that we should be following and all the news that are coming from AWS as well. And then Chan Q, for example, goes almost every week, he writes an article going into really depth on how to do something in particular. Now he's extremely interested in AppSync. So that's one of the serverless services. So I will leave you some links now in the chat so you can go and follow them. But books, sorry, but it's very hard. I don't know. Do you have something in mind?
No, for me, no. Books. Oh my God, when did I read last books? No, all the books right now I'm reading are most around SF and so yeah.
Serverless is hard.
It moves so fast, so we need serverless books.
Serverless books. This is the Alex DeBrie book. I totally recommend it. I don't know if you recommend it, but you should.
Yes. No, it's very good. That's very good. I got it on my Kindle, so it's very nice.
Yeah.
In combination,
it has a lot of examples, and this is Jeremy Daly, one of our serverless heroes, and I will also leave the link to Yanq. But go to the AWS page and look for all our serverless heroes because those are the people that are most active in creating content for serverless, for AWS, and everything that is related to that. So that's my recommendation. I will look for the link now in AWS Heroes and send it here. But we have a couple more questions. Somebody's asking about Amplify, one of my favorite services. So when creating an application with Amplify, and you have data being searched and fetched from an external API source, says that Lambda should keep the data in cache to Dynamo. Okay, so are you searching from an external API, like a third-party API that is not yours? If you want to keep it in cache, it might go old. So maybe, I don't know, depends on what you want to do and how much it aged. I will just go through the third-party API, unless you really call it every 5 milliseconds, then you might need to think about some cache. I don't know, you're the data expert. What kind of cache you recommend, or database that will be good for storing this type of?
Elasticache with DynamoDB in the back. I've seen those. Elasticache, especially with global, which global data store, which allows you to replicate across region, is great thing. But just to remember, I sound like a repeated record, purpose-built databases. So, Elasticache, like caching, I've seen people doing interesting things, not to use another word, but well, they use Elasticache for everything. So they put the real data inside of it. Because if you think about it, oh, wait a minute, everything is in memory. It's extremely fast, etc. It has high availability, like failover, all the clusters we are managing for you, extremely low latency. Disaster recovery with global data stores. So sometimes people go and start using it for production data, only one. I wouldn't recommend that because in the end, I would like things around like Dynamo. If you're using key value, if you're using,
and Dynamo is also extremely fast if you do it right. So
yes.
And you can
With
always
DAX.
ask the DAC on the top. That the DAC is the accelerator, so it's like a cache on top of Dynamo if you don't know, and that makes it even faster.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, sometimes people ask, okay, should I use DAX or should I use Elasticache? Because both are extremely fast. Usually, for people who know how to use Redis and they like to use it, then you just pick with the Elasticache for the caching part, where you keep like, I don't know, for the game, like top scores or something.
But I think for Redis and Elasticache has kind of different use cases, because the basic memcache is just for storing maybe key value pairs, like you will do with Dynamo, and maybe with Redis you can do those more interesting leader scores and things like that. So I think again it depends.
Yeah. But mostly when I talk with people and they use Elasticache, a lot of people ask me for Redis. Do you have, like, from Memcached? Do you have people asking for it?
I don't know. I love Redis. I
Yeah,
use it.
exactly.
I work in a gaming company before, so for us, Redis was very
Everything.
helpful. Very helpful. I will not say everything because our data was not stored in Redis; it was stored somewhere else. But it was a really useful way to keep track when you have multiple instances and things going around. And Redis was like single point of information, so it was really good. But I think again back to what you were saying, the purpose built database. So you might need to combine Dynamo and Redis, and that's fine. And that's, for example, you can have, I don't know, I have seen leader scores being built, like if you do your operation in Dynamo, for example, the player won, and then Dynamo sends, I don't know, a stream and writes to Redis, and then Redis is always updated with what happened in the database. So you can put one thing after the other just by using these integration applications like the streams or Lambda or Serverless. So don't marry to anything. Let's see if there is some questions. There is some questions about Fargate and containers. I know very little. Do you know some of those?
I'm just looking for them. No, I cannot. I have 15 different databases that I need to keep track on. They keep running around like Lambda, doing their own stuff. So it's very hard to keep on top of all of that. So
yeah, I'm sorry about the persons that are asking about containers. But on Wednesday, 1 hour earlier, we are having the Europe, Middle East, and Africa session, where we always have experts that know a little bit of everything. So you can go there and ask your containers questions, and for sure somebody will know the answer. But I'm very sorry, I don't know much about them. Okay, we have some questions. Somebody's asking how expensive is DAX?
Well, like with everything else, you need to test it for your specific case. It might be cheaper to go with Elasticache. It might be easier and cheaper to use DAX. I'll just link the DAX and the price. How it's
I think it's a good practice when you do serverless applications to do load testing. And when I mean load testing, is not to see if AWS can handle your load, is to understand how your costs, that's one of the benefits of running the load test, how your costs will be distributed and how like real data will impact your costs. So that's something I will always recommend when people are experimenting. Put more or less the load that you're expecting and see how it works. And you run it for one day. And if that's not something you can have for 365 days, maybe you need to re-architect your application into something that is more friendly to your budget. Because there is so many options out there and you can do a lot of things. And it's always a trade-off between what is fully managed and has a lot of options. But if you're not using any of those characteristics, or maybe you're just over-engineering, because that's something very common that people, oh, we need cache, we need this, we need that. And you really don't understand how fast Dynamo is. If you model the data properly, you rarely need like cache on between Dynamo and your applications, unless you're doing something that is, I don't know, you know more than me, Domagoy, but
but in the end, the best thing to try. And
exactly.
it's per hour in the end. So
Yeah.
DAX is like a capacity per cluster. So you decide on cluster, you pick, I don't know, free cluster of certain size, test it for hourly, and go with simulated, um, like a simulated workload just to see. But it's good that you can just spin it up later. If you have any issues, then just put DAX on top of it, on top of your current Dynamo.
But sometimes it's not just putting layers of cache that will make it better. You need to rethink your architecture. And that was my first experience with serverless. That when I started working with serverless in 2016, we were running a cloud workload in AWS. It was video on demand. It's very expensive to run video on demand on the internet, and more if you don't understand how the cloud works and how cloud economics behaves. So by that time, I didn't know much about the cloud, and we got a call from this manager that says, well, we will cancel this project if you don't make it cheaper. And the first thing we did, we add cache everywhere, and we started adding a lot of application cache that they really didn't solve any of our problems, because adding cache will not even, if you're not really understanding how to place those in the edge of the cloud and how to make that most of the hits goes there, and you're not hitting the back end, and like really, I just throw my tea on the computer. And you don't know how to do that, not in my computer, just on my phone and my desk. But yeah, whatever. But yeah, so that it's very important to understand how the cloud works to make it cost efficient. So I will encourage everybody to take a while and understand how you can make it cost efficient by running load tests and looking where the money is really expend, how you can really rethink your architecture to make it more cost efficient. So it's not as easy as moving everything to the cloud.
Oh, I thought that I just move everything to like some virtual machine.
It's the first step. It's the first step. I think if you don't start from there, then it will be harder to go to the next steps. But you need to do that work. Oh, man, now I made a mess.
I fully agree. So to allow you to do the mess, to make it, I remember when first looking at the DynamoDB and thinking about like, oh, do I need to put caching in front of it? Yes, no. In the end, most of the time you might be at least until you know how to use things, thinking about how to model the data, using APIs and everything. It's kind of easy in the end, but okay, how to properly model the data, that's like hugely will be huge part of your thinking and your designing.
Yeah, and at least for me, until I didn't learn to use, in the case of Dynamo, that's for me my revelation example, because I was a basic database person before. I just was doing my SQL queries, and then I started using Dynamo in the same way that I was using relational databases, and it was so hard. I hate it. I was like, fuck, sorry for my French. When AWS, this was 2016, when AWS will make these serverless relational databases, we need that. This is horrible. Dynamo is horrible. And then I learned how to model data in Dynamo, and I never went back to SQL and relational databases, because after your brain clicks, then if you're making mobile apps and things like that, you can do a lot of the work, and it's so simple and it's so secure that it's just like, I don't know. I am a converted fan.
No. But I mean, some of the things. I mean, how do you think about Aurora then? And let's pick Aurora.
I like Aurora. I think it fits its purpose, and if you know how to do SQL properly, I think it will work for you. If you don't have shed lots of records and you don't need super fast responses, but if you need to do a lot of operations and you need to do aggregations or things where SQL is very powerful, then Aurora is great. And I am so happy to see Aurora serverless.
Yeah, I'm sure. So I see a lot of customers who are, so just to clear the air, I talk sometimes to customers and they say, "Oh, but if we go from Oracle or SQL Server to Aurora, then it's lock-in. This Aurora thing is lock-in from Amazon. They created it like that's." But this is not true, because Aurora is just an implementation of MySQL and Postgres,
Exactly.
which is purposely built for cloud. So if you think about it, it has like separate. You can think of it as a storage layer that allows you all the nice stuff, like going back in time if you deleted something without, without disruption on data. So you can go back to 6 o'clock in the morning. Was data okay to 8 o'clock in the morning? Oh, data was still okay to 10. Oh, this is where somebody deleted something. So you can go back in time without disrupting the current data, or you can clone the entire database very fast, and you can just say make a clone, and then you have 2 clones of data. And when you start writing in one or the other, only delta is actually written. So you don't have, if your database is, I don't know, 10 giga, and you have 2 clones, you don't have 20 giga of data. You don't pay for it. You just have, again, 10 if they're the same, and just you start paying for the delta. So quite a nice things going for Aurora, and with serverless, so you don't have to think about servers anymore. Is something that people find very, very liberating.
And I was so happy when I saw the RDS proxy feature coming last reInvent. That was for me. I became friends with relational databases again.
Again, really?
Yeah, because I think managing connections from the serverless perspective was very hard. So now that there is the proxy in between, and it's just so simple to basically just give me data. I don't want to really worry about the connections. It's not my problem. I just want my data. I want to put data. So I think the proxy really helped up with that. So
fully agree. A lot of customers don't know about it. So if you don't know, this is not part of the, so it's not inside of database. It's not inside of Aurora or RDS. So the proxy is like a separate service that you spin up and then you put in front between your application and your database. So it's an additional layer that takes all the connection pooling, failover when the connection goes down. So it actually increases the availability even more on top of RDS Aurora. So quite nicely.
It's very nice, and that was one of the biggest problems, or RDS and Lambda, that your connection pool was always running out, and you have to basically throttle your serverless application, or limit the concurrency, or do some kind of weird thing in the backend. But now with the proxy, you can just let your Lambdas be, and it just works really nice. So that's. If you don't know what it is, I can leave you the link in the screen about the proxy, because it's one of the best releases from reInvent last year.
Last year?
Well, 2019. reInvent is like 1 month away.
Oh my God, time flies. I thought that we released RDS proxy rather recently.
Oh
But,
well, it was like made GA quite recently,
ah,
but it was announced in re:Invent 2019.
hmm.
So it was GA, I think, beginning of the summer or something like that. So
Yeah, but it was made GA, yeah, 13th
yeah,
June.
yeah, exactly the beginning of the summer or middle of the
When we were
summer,
all
depending.
swimming in the sea somewhere in Croatia or Greece or somewhere.
Well,
Where
whatever
did you go?
COVID
Where did you
allow
go?
you.
Did you go anywhere? Because
Home? No,
oh no, wow, okay,
no traveling.
no traveling, total lockdown.
No. Yeah, well, not lockdown, but staying here is, I think, why to travel? It's like, no need. Somebody is saying that they are fan of Alex Dibry and the Dynamo
Yes,
book. It's a great
yes,
resource.
great.
Yeah. I interviewed Rick Houlihan some time ago, and I asked him what is the place that people should go, and he mentioned this book. So I was like,
I
wow,
think
Alex
he
should be
wrote the
very
forward.
proud.
Yeah,
Yeah, he did. Alex should
yeah.
be very proud.
But but didn't he say that he's now writing the book also? I heard somewhere that he's
Well, it's
commenting and
possible.
joking, So
Yeah, Dynamo is a empty void, and I think that's one of the biggest problems with Dynamo, that there is so much material outside that is not really understanding how to design for Dynamo. That is, it's good to have. If there's two books, I will not complain about. But Rick has there also. If you're watching Twitch, you will find the open office from Rick Houlihan. I think it's in the European time. I don't know. You can check in the schedule of Twitch when it is, but it's once a week, and he has the same format that we have, but he has usually a problem that he solves, and it's a great place to go and ask all the stupid questions. So definitely, I will encourage. So, what is the most common questions you get from databases? What you will say that it's something that people come ask you over and over again?
so we have different customers. Like we have people who are making just new applications starting from start. Then you can pick, you can decide, okay, I need to use TimeStream, I need to use Dynamo, I need to use QLDB, all the fun things that we talked about. We do have a lot of customers who are asking, who are stuck, you're a developer who needs to support or develop an application that was done 15 years ago on top of Oracle or SQL Server, and you're looking, okay, how to move forward. So questions like we got around, okay, can AWS actually help me? In what way? Both to reduce risk, to help with architecture, to help with picking the service, with money in the end, with credits. When I move from whatever I'm using now to some purpose-built database. It can be Dynamo, it can be Aurora, it can be RDS. And we had a lot of customers asking to move from oracles to all the main thing I mentioned before, but also to Oracle RDS. People don't know, but we have a lot of very happy customers running Oracle on top of RDS in AWS, and also SQL Server running on top of RDS, SQL Server on RDS. So, helping customers all around it. Sometimes you just need to have the workload that you're working on. You need to move it with database to the AWS. Sometimes you cannot just drop it because it's too complex. It would cost too much. So helping customers move into managed database. But I see more and more customers really want to have, if not serverless, then fully managed database if at all possible. Most of the customers don't prefer these days to run in the EC2 kind of like do it yourself.
So happy to hear that.
I don't know. That's my personal, view. I don't. But what
Oh.
do? You have a lot of customers who want to have like very specifically, finely tuned their own
No,
Moda figure?
I'm a serverless. I usually talk about serverless. It's very rare that people come and talk me how they can fine tune the EC2. They will not come for that
Like,
answer
what
to
is
me.
EC2 even? All right.
What is that? I made a video on running my first EC2 that ran, I think, this year consciously. So That's
what
bad
did
I
you
have.
run on top of it? I didn't watch that one. What did you top?
It was just basic Ubuntu EC2. I didn't put
Simple.
anything on top. It was just to play and learn how to do it. I did it live with my colleague on the video, so it was fun.
I can
But
imagine.
yeah, but I'm not a really EC2 person. So for me, anything that is managed, I'm always happy.
Yes, fully agree. Fully agree.
So somebody's asking now a question. A good practice to deploy APIs with API Gateway and Lambda, how to avoid cold starts. So in general, cold starts should not bother you too much, but if they bother you, there is this feature called concurrency. What is the name? Concurrency. You can provision concurrency. That's the name of the feature in Lambda that basically you can tell Lambda to have 10, 15, 50, or as many as you need, Lambda that are already warm. But I will not go that way in 95% of the cases, because that's not the idea of going serverless. The idea of going serverless and is going through an event-driven architecture. When the event comes in, the Lambda starts loading. So you want to make your Lambdas as efficient as possible to basically start. That means that you have deployment packages that are small. So if you have very big Lambda functions or using something like a Java virtual machine or things like that, that will slow down your function a little bit when starting. So I would recommend you to try to make the ones, at least the functions that you really care that needs to be very fast, try to make them in some programming language that can respond very fast, and the packages are very small. But then the concurrency, provision concurrency is just used for very specific use cases. So I will not try to go there. So do some benchmark optimization. So you can also increase the memory of your Lambda function, and that might also increase the CPU, and that might make the whole deployment very fast. So there is some tools to do performing tuning on Lambdas that you can check, and that will help you also to understand the cost of your functions. I will look for the videos and I will share the links with you if you want to do the performance tuning. But that's kind of the tips I can give you. Do you have some tips?
No, no tips at all. I'm like mostly what I mentioned before. Yeah, on totally different topic, But I'm you know me. I'm a database guy, so mostly
Yeah.
think about it. And I just share with you the EDC has recently shared, how much customers love and find use in managed databases, so managed relational databases. So RDS for us. Well, like we all do acronyms here, so relational database service. So basically, how much you can save for your company, like you mentioned before, when you get to you got from the management request, okay, you have to cut down on the cost. This is what IDC has found, how much people can save over the time if they go for managed database. So it's just a link that we share, is
Yeah.
something that
It's this
is,
one that I put in
yeah.
the screen now. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anytime that you can focus more on what you work, is something that will help you going forward to save cost. Do you want, is your really business in managing EC2 and running on top of it, or are you making a cool new application about sensors and IoT? Maybe you should evaluate going into the managed database, where you don't need to worry about it. Just take a database and focus on building your solution uh, for your IoT, things around that.
Yes, somebody's asking about this. I see the question. Oh, here. Cost perspective. Will serverless always have a high impact on cost on production compared to other architectures like EC2 or containers? And my answer is it depends.
How did I know that you will say that?
Yeah, because it depends on what kind of workload you're running. In some cases, serverless is way cheaper, and when I say it's way cheaper, I'm meaning on the AWS bill, because then we have the other aspect of serverless, that is the cost of ownership. And that's a different monster that you might need to do your own calculations on how much money you invest on maintaining this infrastructure that serverless gives you for free. So there are the two discussions that you need to have wherever you are working. Is like, well, your AWS bill is one thing, but then how much money you are putting into handling the containers or handling the EC2 instance, how much work you're putting that is you're getting for like in the serverless package. So that's something I will I will tell you to check, but it depends what is cheaper and what is not. Let's see.
And if you think about it, just from like picking on Aurora and serverless versus like normal Aurora or something, if you have a workload that is sometimes working, sometimes is not, over a weekend it goes down, if you're building small application for department, or let's go like there, having the service that automatically goes down as people are not using it, you're paying less. If you have constantly running service, you're paying constantly for it. So it really, just to additionally point out, it really depends on what you're trying to do, and what is your specific workload, how do you use it. It really you really need to test in the end.
Yeah, and now we have our partners from Rackspace that they are in the live stream, they are in the chat. So if you have any questions that you would like to follow up, you can always mail them. They are happy to get the follow-up questions related, I don't know, to anything Rackspace. Jakob, can you elaborate what they can send you questions about? You are giving your email on Twitch, so be careful. But yeah, if you have any questions, just send them over to Jakob. But you can always ping us on Twitter, me and Domagoy. We are also happy to help you there. I'm not answering individual questions in general. It's very hard for me. So if you have one particular questions that relate to something, make them public. It's way easier for me to respond than if you send me a message, because I get millions of those messages a day. I don't know about you, Domago, if you want your private questions or your public questions.
No. Let's keep this public.
Good. Good. We have 9 minutes left, so start hitting us with more questions, but I will take some of the chats. So somebody's asking about the new HTTP API gateway, and it says that the response is different from the old REST API gateway. I would recommend you to read the documentation. The HTTP API gateway is changing all the time. They are developing, so there is a lot of things that are all the time being added or removed. So go and check the documentation. They have migration plans there as well if you want to migrate from REST to HTTP. So that's the best place that you can learn on how to configure it and what you need to change. In my small test that I tried the HTTP API, the response was more or less the same. But again, if you have very complex use cases, you might not have those features yet supported, or they have maybe a different format. So go and check the documentation. Have you used the new HTTP API gateway, Domagoy?
No, but no. It sounds very interesting, I must say.
It is. It's API gateway is one of those serverless components that people were complaining that was too expensive, and I think it's expensive because it comes with a lot of things out of the box. So last reInvent, they launched a new version called the HTTP API Gateway that is like 70% cheaper than the traditional one, and it's like 10 times faster. So if you have workloads that can suit that needs, it's great to migrate. So definitely go and check the documentation. I will look for it and I will link it in the description box, because if your use case can fit whatever HTTP is providing, just go for it. Why not? Why to pay more if you are not using all the other features?
Exactly. Fully agree.
So here Jakob replied, and he says that he can answer questions about cost optimization, architecture, best practices across most AWS technologies. So I will put the email again in the screen. And yeah, so Domagoy. So you mentioned the lecture database, you mentioned the TimeStream database, but I will have to say that one of my favorite weird databases, or weird to say it, like very purpose meant, is the Neptune, and you have not mentioned it. What you think
Neptune is
about
a
that? It's a
very
great database.
no, wait. I didn't mention a lot of them. Now you're forcing my hand to. Let's see if I can mention it out of my head. So we have Aurora, we have RDS in relational space. We have
Yes,
Dynamo, we
yes,
have DocumentDB. For
yes.
those of you that don't know, Document has MongoDB 3.6 compatibility. There's a list of APIs which are supported, and this is very easy to try. People love it. We also
Key
have the key
spaces,
spaces exactly for
Cassandra,
Cassandra. We have Neptune. We have time series.
lecture,
QLDB,
yes.
exactly. I think I covered it all now.
And Redis,
Oh yeah. Oh
the
my God. How
Elastic.
did I forget that?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And what about Elasticsearch? Does it fit the database
No,
category or?
Elasticsearch. No, it's a very good question, but in the end, in order we see it mostly customers are using it in combination with Redshift and
Mm,
Analytics and all around it. So it's over there in
okay.
analytics space for us with
Yeah.
QuickSight and
Yeah.
visualization and all
Athena,
around it.
but yeah.
Yeah, but Neptune, just for you that don't know, very briefly, if you're building like a new Facebooky, Twitter, Pinterest, any kind of application that needs to know about relationships. So I would like to know all of my friends that have at least two children that are teenagers and that enjoy going outside during the weekend and have been to Spain in the last 5 years, for example. Very easy query. This can be kind of hard to pull out in relational database, a lot of joins, or in
And in
Dynamo. You need
Dynamo,
to
I don't want to imagine how to
what?
make
You just have to model it properly. You just have to model it properly.
it. Yeah,
But
we
yeah,
can ask Rick in the next open of.
yeah, exactly. But those things are very easy to do inside Neptune. So if you need like managed database that is all around graph, building this relationship between nodes, edges, vertices, uh, that's where we see a lot of customers going and using it. So quite great, but I would say it's kind of niche. You need it or you don't need it. If
Yeah,
you're
well,
not interested.
single purpose databases. I think TimeStream is very niche as well. Ledger is very niche as well, but they're there to help you if you need them. So
Yeah, Marcia, but I don't know the number of requests I get recently for TimeStream. It's not niche, but just
IoT is like everybody is asking for that. It's just suits everybody use cases if you have an IoT
yeah, yeah,
system.
fully agree, fully agree.
There is a question here about Dynamo. Hello, I would like to know if there is a possibility to increase the size of a document stored in DynamoDB.
If what document
I don't
stored?
know. Dynamo, does it have size?
What? Wait, where is this question? I missed it.
Question is in the screen.
So there's possibility to increase the size of
Can you
document.
elaborate more, Miguel? What you mean by increase the document store in Dynamo? Like there is a limit to store items. Is that what you mean? The size of the amount of item size that you can store? Is that the problem that you have? What you want to store? And maybe we can help you a little bit more. So that's the thing of ask me anything. Questions sometimes are hard, but this is good for our practice on answering things on the fly. So we can go to another question. This is about Amplify, while Miguel thinks about going a little bit more in extent in that question. Any thoughts on using Amplify on already established projects running in production? Some people say that it's not for serious apps. I will recommend you to check Nadar's David Twitter and all his content. He's the developer advocate for Amplify, and he shows how you can really build some serious stuff with Amplify, because Amplify is just most a CLI and some libraries in the client, but then the backend is AWS. So that's for serious apps. You will be using the same Dynamo tables, you will be using the same API gateways, you will be using the same Lambdas, and you can build that stuff using Amplify in a very simple way. And there is, for example, we have a discussion with Nader that was super interesting on how to model single table design using Dynamo and all the tools that Amplify brings into the play. So you can use the integration that Amplify has with AppSync to model directly Dynamo single tables, and it blows your mind how powerful Amplify is. So I will totally recommend you to check that. I will leave you the link for that in the description in a moment. And we are 1 minute away, so there's so many questions. Let's see. Let's pick one. Here, Miguel came back. I want to know the maximum size of a document in Dynamo. Go to the documentation, or if I don't know if Domagoj knows that by memory.
400. Usually people hit 400 kilobytes, but if 400 KB is too little for you, just think about what you're using. In the end, I've seen customers who are putting huge, like nested documents, and in the end, they decided they want to go for DocumentDB and not Dynamo. The others sometimes putting object on S3 and then just linking it from DynamoDB might be solution to what you're trying to do. But there are really constraints, and we'll post a link, but you can find it quickly. It's like just constraints on DynamoDB that you need to work around with.
And we have one more questions about Dynamo, and then I think we will Shashka put the size, and then we will wrap up because we are on the hour. So this is the last one. Who would you recommend? How you would recommend restoring a Dynamo table without losing data?
Without losing data, but restoring it from where? Like dropping it into S3 or from backup. There's a backup you can do, and you can choose to restore it. Or you might want to do and use it to another place. So if you want to, since we are already at the top of the hour, if you want to take this and just tweet at me, I can help you there later. I'm guessing you're talking about the backing, like restoring from a backup and not overwriting current one, like restoring to a copy. So we can talk about it later.
Yeah, I put your Twitter on the screen, so then it can go and send you a message there, and you can continue this offline. But yeah, this was great. We had a lot of questions, and we have even some database questions, so that's good because I will never know the answers to those questions. Yeah. So it was great to have you here, Domagoj, and thank you everybody in the audience that was watching this stream and asking questions, and I hope you had a good time. And I see you next week around 1 o'clock Central Eastern Time, 2 o'clock Eastern European Time for another session on Ask Me Anything. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.